On behalf of the Fight and Ninth Democratic Committee members, 100,000 welcomes to Acres of Democrats 2025.
My favorite pronoun is the most inclusive pronoun, and it is the first word of our American Constitution. Let's remind people that it's we the people, and it's we the people who are stronger together, we the people who are more resilient together, and it's we the people of the Commonwealth who are going to save this country. Let's do this November. Thank you so much.
I have personally witnessed families refuse needed medical care simply because they cannot afford their cost share. Affordable and accessible health care for all Virginians is not only a social responsibility, but more importantly is a moral responsibility.
And our seniors, they're able to retire with the dignity they deserve, and that they aren't choosing between prescription drug costs and their electric bill, because we fought for it. That future seems far off, a future that's more just and more fair, but we can get there. The fight before us might be tough, but we're tougher. And that work starts with you and in this room and around this Commonwealth. And so I hope that this year that you will join me in fighting to flip Virginia blue at the statewide level and right here in the 9th District. Thank you all.
And just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, I went to community college, I was a single mom, I depended on public assistance when I was younger, food stamps, free lunch, all of the things, sliding scale daycare. I know what it's like to struggle, and that's why I felt like I needed to step up and make sure that those safety nets are available to everyone in Southwest Virginia and everyone in the state. And I do feel like the state is the last protection against the administration, so we've got to turn Virginia blue. Thank you.
Learning what my dad taught me about hard work, he told me that you never show up to work and not expect to get a job done. And another thing, my dad told me that when the person who hires you to do a job come around, at least look like you're doing something. My daddy told me that don't just stand there and twiddle your thumbs, pick up a shovel and dig a hole if you have to. So I just want to ask, I don't know if he's listening, but to the candidate, to the delegate that's been there for 31 years, where is your shovel? That's what I want to know. I'll let you get out and go do a job.
They think that our residents are not clever to know what they are doing to our health and to our jobs and to our educational system. But we do know that our delegate is praising the court to Medicaid. He's written opinions praising Donald Trump for cutting Medicaid to hundreds of thousands of people in Virginia. That is why I'm running against him, and I'm counting on you to make a change so that we can have the delegate that we deserve in District 42. Thank you.
Jason Miyares would rather be Donald Trump's pro bono attorney than be our Attorney General. When Donald Trump said, I'm going to levy tariffs that are going to destroy Virginia's economy from corner to corner, Jason Miyares didn't do a thing. When Donald Trump said, I'm going to gut our federal workforce and decimate people's families and livelihoods, Jason Miyares stood idly by. And when Donald Trump and his cronies passed this big bill the other week that will choke our communities from their access to health care and close rural hospitals, where has your Attorney General been? Nowhere to be found. Virginia deserves better, and I will give you my heart and my soul as your next Attorney General.
For 20 years, I worked in property management, leading teams, solving complex problems, helping people through crisis. I learned how to listen, I learned how to lead, and I learned how to show up when it mattered most. As your delegate, I will push for comprehensive mental health reform, funding for early intervention, crisis support, and school-based services. Because stronger minds mean safer children, and safer children grow into stronger communities.
I wanted to explain
what was said during a local 4th of July parade this year in Fieldale. During an interview, I stood out at the top of a sunroof of a car and loudly stated via speaker and on local cable TV, "I don't like the big beautiful bill." It's going to be worse than NAFTA. And I got some booze, but they're going to have to eat those booze for breakfast next year.
There's common ground between Bedford and all the way down to Big Stone Gap. And it's the fact that we know better and we've done better before. The history of CD9 is blue. The history of my district might be very, very red. But I'm going to tell you something. Things are changing. I grew up at a bipartisan kitchen table. And so I value bipartisan conversation. I miss the time when government was about governance. I miss the time when at least politicians pretended the power belonged to the people. But I miss, more importantly, the time where we could be excited to discuss the future. And that's the thing, guys. Our neighbors who might have voted red, they're starting to see it. But we have to provide them something to believe in, something to get behind. And so that's why I created the home plan. Because my district, District 51, as well as all of CD9 in the Commonwealth, deserves to be a good home. And good homes have health care. They have opportunities for our young people close to home. They have market access and affordability, and they have education.
Since 2002, I've been re-elected 7 times as commissioner. Counting the Board of Supervisors, as I said before, I've been elected 9 times in Wise County, and we're real red out there. I mean, just crazy red. And so I guess we must be doing something right. And that's what we want to talk about, is what are we doing? What's happening? What's resonating with the voters? And so I will just tell you this. My buddy John Peace and I, like many of you, were literally sickened in 2024 with the results. Couldn't believe it. Thought, what the freak has happened? I just would have bet that we were going to win it. Whose fault is it? What can be done about it? As an old coach, we got a playbook, and if we're running the same play all the time and we're getting stopped, it doesn't take an old coach. We don't have the reputation as being the most cerebral individuals in the room, but we can figure out we're going to run a different play. We're going to run a different play. And that's what we want to talk to you about. This is about campaigning in rural Virginia. This is about campaigning in rural America.
My great-grandmother was the woman that kind of raised me on the farm. And she was born in 1897, okay? Her granddad and her great-uncle fought in the Civil War. So I grew up in a household hearing stories, first-hand stories, that she knew people that fought in the Civil War that went back that far. And she lived to 1995. So she lived from 1897, and she was born, think about 1897, she was, some of these people are way too young to remember, but she was born into an era of Little House on the Prairie. Horse and buggy, no power, outhouses, no indoor plumbing. That's what she grew up in. And I want y'all to think about, in her lifetime, from 1897 to 1995, when she passed, she lived to be 98 years old, what all she saw in her life. So 1993, I'm sitting at her kitchen table. She fixed me some food. She had a newspaper, she read her newspaper every day. On the headlines, 1993, President Clinton signs Medical Leave Act. You all remember this? Used to, you could get fired if you just had a baby. But the Family and Medical Leave Act, 1993. And I can remember it like yesterday. She took her reading glasses off, laid them on the table, laid her paper down, put her hand on my arm. Now she called me JW. My middle name's William, so she called me JW. She said, JW, I want you to remember one thing the rest of your life. She said, the only time that something good's happened for the working man, the working woman, or the working person has been because of the Democratic Party and unions.
Really concerned about Trump policies, how it's affecting America, but specifically Southwest Virginia. And 150 folks in Marion on a Tuesday morning. Even in our heydays, we couldn't sometimes draw that kind of crowd. And I know that there's been gatherings in Abingdon, Bristol, and all across the ninth. And part of that is because these Trump policies are going to disproportionately hit Southwest Virginia. This big, awful, crummy bill is going to have a devastating effect on folks all across rural America, but specifically Southwest Virginia. This bill, as you know, cuts 17 million Americans off of health care. Over 300,000 Virginians are going to lose either Medicaid, or if we don't make changes in terms of the premium support and buying health insurance through the marketplace, hundreds of thousands of more Virginians are going to lose health care coverage. That is going to disproportionately hit rural communities. You probably already know there are the 6 hospitals that have potentially been targeted for closure based upon predictions. Many of them are in Southwest Virginia. I have a personal concern about Lee County Hospital, which took us years to kind of get reopened. It could close down. And what we really need Democrats to do is, share that information with folks you work with, you go to school with, you worship with, and remind them how these policies came about. I mean,
we do have an opportunity this year because of what they're doing at a national level and because of a lot of what they're doing here in Virginia. We do have the opportunity this year to make some real change. So please, when you leave here, support the local candidate you have running. They really need funds to help them. Unfortunately, we live in times where a lot of money is spent on elections by people who probably shouldn't be. Support your local committees. They're very active. We've stepped up our game a lot in the 9th District. And we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you coming out today. It's always a pleasure to be surrounded by like-minded people. And thank you for coming. Have a great day.